Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty league, PPR league, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
What is going on, y'all? This is the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, and if y'all are here, that means that you're subscribed to the Patreon and you're checking out our exclusive content, our live exclusive content that I'm bringing to y'all on the Patreon segment. Always bringing you some more fantasy football coverage, and my exclusive live takes only can be found here. So if you're here, I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to be talking about fantasy rumors today, obviously on the screen here. And then we're also going to get into some fantasy talk where I just go over some players that I really like, and we're just going to be talking about their fantasy implications and how they're doing this season, guys that I like, guys that I dislike, that you absolutely need to stay away from. But yeah, let's just get right into it. I'm super excited, so let's do it. Thank you for subscribing to the Patreon again. Let's start with Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, back from his suspension, back from the 3-game suspension. And if you didn't know, he was suspended for fighting in Vegas. Typical, right? Very typical for mans to be fighting in Vegas. NFL player, too much time, too much money on his hands in the off season, so much time to do literally whatever you want with unlimited dollars. And he ends up getting in a fight in Vegas, beating up random NPCs. Just crazy to see. The man reported this beating as being battered at the nightclub, not beaten, battered. Like, that means you really had to get, taken advantage of for you to report, you being battered. But obviously these NFL players, it's their job to work out. It's their job to train and be very tough individuals. I'm definitely not messing with any NFL players at a nightclub by any means at any time. However, Alvin Kamara did, take responsibility for the incident in Vegas. He said that he embarrassed his mama. He said that he embarrassed the Saints and the NFL, and that, he was sorry. So that's good enough for me. He did his time. He served his 3-game suspension. Everybody goes through stuff in life, and now he's just ready to play. Still a really good back. Still a very, very good running back. Love to watch him do his thing out there. He's very shifty and elusive. Only 28 years old right now, and he's absolutely the best running back that the Saints have on their roster at all. Obviously, they have Jamal Williams, who led the NFL in touchdowns last year with like 17 touchdowns, but it looks like he's maybe lost a step. He also just injured his hamstring just now in last week's game, not this week's game, but last week's game, injured his hamstring, and now they're going with Tony Jones Jr., who I don't really think is going to be a factor. He was someone that I thought you could maybe pick up and grab some value in the couple weeks, but their rookie Kendrick Miller started working into his workload. It's just a whole mess in the Saints backfield right now, and hopefully all that mess will be cleared up once Alvin Kamara returns in week 4. Last year he had a pretty good season. I originally thought that he had gotten suspended or something last year, that he got in trouble. I could be misremembering that, but he, in 15 games last year, 897 rushing yards, 490 receiving yards, and 4 total touchdowns. So definitely going to get done. Saints getting Alvin Kamara back, and that is very exciting news for them. Guys, I have the news that everybody wants to talk about. I'm sure y'all are very excited to hear about this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce extravaganza that's going on in the league. The NFL's posting about it. People's moms are posting about it. Everybody's posting about it. Everybody's so excited for someone else's love life. I don't get it, but when we're talking fantasy rumors, I think we just gotta hit this, no question. Obviously, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift apparently dating now, and she attended the Bears game where they won by about 94,000 points, and that one didn't have a chance. Justin Fields didn't show up for me in my fantasy team. Super disappointing in my opinion, from my perspective point of view. But she's reportedly going to be attending the Jets game as well. Their Week 4 matchup against the Jets. Apparently she's going to be there and get more camera time than Kadarius Toney will ever get in his entire NFL career, which is wild. But yeah, officially dating, super exciting. And guys, I only here at the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast can you get the exclusive, officially low-key reported, not low-key, it's very well known. This was reported by CBS Sports. But we got the full Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift timeline. So just strap in, buckle in, because I got the whole timeline starting in June and then going all the way till now. There's a whole sequence of events that you guys need to be aware of. So, starting June 29th, Travis makes some friendship bracelets for his incoming tight ends, the guys that are new to the team. He makes some friendship bracelets for them, and he was quoted saying he was taking a page out of Taylor Swift's book, and wanted to make some friends and be welcoming to his future teammates that were going to be on the squad. July 26th, he made a bracelet for Taylor Swift, which, very sweet of him. I'm sure it was just like a friendship type thing at that point. They were just getting to know each other, all of that. Obviously I'm just speculating, but I speculate on sports, so why not speculate on somebody's love life? That's definitely the move. August 5th, named Swift as his celebrity crush. He did that on TikTok. He was on TikTok and named Taylor Swift as his celebrity crush. And everybody was up in arms at that point. NFL started posting about it. I'm sure people bought their tickets right then. They were like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to see Taylor Swift this week. I'm so excited. Most definitely. September 14th, the rumors on Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce's podcast were not denied. So he was just like, not confirming, not denying, but obviously he was feeling her, and they were hanging out, they were friends. And then now I believe that they're officially dating, and she just attended the game September 24th, and apparently she's going to attend the next game too. So more Taylor Swift action for all you Swifties out there. I don't belong to that clan yet, but maybe Travis Kelce, with how good he is, can get me over there. So you're welcome for that, guys. I know that is the news that you've been waiting to hear all week. I got you with the full rundown, the full Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift timeline. So absolutely only for my Patreon subscribers. Hopefully, maybe we'll start talking more fantasy rumors, stuff like that, and just break down some news so I can spitball at it more. But when we come back, we're going to be doing fantasy talk, where I'm literally just sitting on here going through players that I really like and giving my my thoughts and opinions. So definitely come back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Going to be doing fantasy talk, and this is probably my favorite version of a type of segment that I do on the podcast, where I'm pretty much just spitballing, talking about guys that I like. So let's just get right into it. I'm on the fantasy football, currently the waiver wire, looking at some waiver wire guys that I may or may not like, and looking right now, it's just extremely thin in my 12-team league here. Obviously, people getting injured is going to play a factor into that. We got guys like Mike Williams on the IR now. Nick Chubb's obviously on the IR. Jeff Wilson, J.K. Dobbins on the IR, and these are like a lot of the guys that are showing up as like top options in my fantasy waiver wire right now. So I'm gonna see the highest projected people right now and see if just kind of like see if there's anybody that is worth picking up. Somehow Zay Jones is sitting on my waiver wire at the moment. Zay Jones, obviously the wide receiver, kind of 3 in that Jaguars offense, but he's hurt right now, and Doug Peterson had said that he is a long shot to be playing in their Sunday game against Houston. No, I think they play Atlanta. They just played Houston. I don't know why this is. Maybe I need to refresh the page. But yeah, Zay Jones, I saw that he was on the waiver wire on my phone earlier. Definitely a good player that I may be looking at. I actually was lucky enough. You could call this lucky or not lucky. I was first on the waiver order in my league where I'm the commissioner. I'm actually 0-3 right now, so definitely not going to get it done. But I was able to pick up Devon Achane, who just dropped 51 fantasy points. Hopefully Devon Achane will be able to get a look in the next coming weeks after rushing for 200 yards and scoring 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns is crazy. 4 touchdowns is definitely wild. But looking on the waiver wire right now, not seeing too much action. Maybe Rashad Penny or Zach Charbonnet has actually showed a little bit of gas in the tank, but I don't think that he can even be played because of the Kenneth Walker situation, and Kenneth Walker gets like 15 to 20 touches every single game. Maybe Taysom Hill. I did pick up Taysom Hill in one of my leagues. Like I play like 10 leagues. I only play 2 leagues. In my other league, I picked up Taysom Hill after he had a pretty solid performance in week 2. Only amounted to 8.72 fantasy points. But I'm thinking that maybe with Derek Carr out, he will have a chance to make some more plays. Derek Carr is going to sit down because of that. He has like an AC injury. I was looking at it, and I definitely didn't know what his injury was. But Taysom Hill obviously plays quarterback, he plays running back, and he plays tight end for the Saints. So being able to play him at tight end when he's technically playing 3 positions has to be an advantage in some way. This is another guy I was talking about. It was actually Rashee Rice on the waiver wire. I believe that he is second on the Chiefs team in targets right now. 5 targets week 1, only 2 targets in week 2 versus Jacksonville, but that was like a really hot game. That's kind of what everybody is saying, that they're just blaming the lack of fantasy production on it being really hot in week 2 versus Jacksonville. Travis Etienne actually caught some cramps in that game. So going to write that one off from Rashee Rice. Came back against Chicago, obviously a terrible squad offensively and defensively, but picked up 7 targets in week 3, just under Kelsey. Ended up with 5 receptions for 59 yards, 12.9 fantasy points. Looks like something that may be interesting in the works. Kind of interesting too. Cordero Patterson is going to be coming back soon. He's questionable right now, but he was extremely good for the Atlanta Falcons the past 2 years, and he was a limited participant at practice on Wednesday. So hopefully coming to Atlanta Falcons backfields and slot wide receiver roles soon. Another guy I was talking about was Jalen Hyatt, and I do think that you guys do have to keep an eye on this guy, Jalen Hyatt. Talking about him a little bit more last week after he had a pretty big game. Only 2 receptions for 89 yards. Caught both of his targets, though. This was a guy that, against Alabama, put up a 5 touchdown game. He had like 6 receptions for 274 yards and 5 touchdowns in a game. So I have to assume that will translate at some point. He's a bit frail and fragile. He's like 6'1", 175 or 185, very skinny guy, but he looks like a track star. He looks like he could run with Usain Bolt out there, on the track. But let's just go to all here and kind of look at some guys that I think are going to pop off, may have a good matchup. I was talking about Bijan Robinson in the live show. I actually absolutely think that he could do a lot of good things this week. He's just shown so much prowess in the receiving role that he's playing currently, and also outrushed Tyler Algier in week 3. Believed that Bijan Robinson had 10 carries and Algier only had 7. So things looking up for him in the backfield, and he has already kind of secured that wide receiver receiving role too. How about Jamar Chase for a good game maybe? Finally had a solid, put a solid game together with the 12 catches for 141 yards on Monday Night Football. Primetime Jamar Chase, I feel like he's usually going off in those primetime games. He also picked up 15 targets in week 3. He's the guy that I spent my fourth pick on in my league. I stole him at 4. And the first 2 weeks he just disappointed me. Maybe he's ready to actually take off versus a Titans defense that is not ranked very well. They have a couple dogs back in their DBs, but nobody that really compares to Chase. So I could definitely see him having a good game against the Titans. Continuing to go through this. Don't want to talk about the guys that I already talked about kind of in the live episode, but so I'm not going to do that. Definitely not going to do that. A lot of these matchups are pretty interesting. I like anybody against the Chargers. Maybe Jacoby Myers to have a solid game. He really put together a good performance in week 3. Popped a lot of eyes. Also picked up 12 targets in his week 3 game. He had sat out in week 2 after having a big 2-touchdown performance in week 1 versus the Denver Broncos. Got hit really, really hard and suffered a concussion. So he sat out week 2, but then week 3 came right back, 7 receptions, 85 yards, and the 12 targets. Ended up with 15 total fantasy points. Maybe someone that you're looking to trade for, just because he's flying so far under the radar. And early, you just got to make the right decision early. He could be the right decision here. Currently wide receiver number 21 after only playing 2 games, so that's definitely solid. Another guy who has been going absolutely dumb, stupid, crazy is Zach Moss. Zach Moss is just eating up, and I had predicted that he's just going to have another really good game against this Los Angeles Rams squad. Los Angeles Rams do have the worst coverage in all of football, and Moss has been showing a bit like that he can do the running and the receiving work for that backfield. So as a Jonathan Taylor owner in both of my leagues, I'm a bit scared for what that means for him, but I could definitely see Zach Moss having a good little day against the Los Angeles Rams for sure. Joe Mixon kind of tore them up and was finding some holes to run through, also scored a touchdown. I think Moss could maybe do the same in his matchup. Another guy I'm just going to have to go with, and I've been going with him, rocking with him for the last 3 weeks, is NFL youngboy George Pickens. This guy has been, it's not even quiet at the moment. It's pretty loud, popping off. He's making a lot of plays, and still had a pretty good week 3 with only 11.5 fantasy points, put up 4 receptions for 75 yards. And in week 2, obviously had the 69-yard touchdown, 4 receptions, 127 yards, and that score. Put up 22 fantasy points in week 2. And just without Deontay Johnson right now, he's going to continue to be that wide receiver 1. Houston's also missing their starting corner, Derek Stingley, who was like the second pick in the draft. So obviously he's cold, and he is not out, or he is not in right now. He'll be out for like the next couple weeks at least. So just another good guy that I think has a good matchup. Someone you could play in DFS or something like that if you don't have him on your fantasy team. We do have a comment. I don't even know how you guys are getting in here because it's supposed to be private, but I will read it. Just got offered Cooper and Mixon for St. Brown, full PPR. Team is Lawrence, Pollard, Kenneth Walker, Jefferson. So you're in a small league. Cooper and Mixon for St. Brown. I got Dell on the bench. How many teams do you have in your league? That would be my first question. Don't really like letting go of St. Brown anyway, though. It doesn't seem like a good move. It seems like he has too much potential right now in a good offense with a good offensive line, and he's the number 1 option. He's even more of an option than like Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery to make big plays. But I appreciate the question, though. Just like in standard ways, I don't think I would do that. But guys, that's gonna wrap up the episode. If my man Francisco can't answer back here, then I'm going to end it. But I appreciate y'all watching. This is the Patreon segment, so I don't know how Francisco got in here, but shout out Francisco for coming through. I'm gonna end the episode now. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Peace.